Here we go. We are live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris, and this is my channel, We Love Comics. And today I got my 4 PGX books back from grading. We are going to do a live grade reveal. It is a blind grade reveal, as always, as I never want to check the grades of the books. So I get to find out the grades as soon as you do. Sometimes you do a second or two before I do. But I want to always let people know, if you've never used PGX before, this is the advice I can give you. You can listen to people online that just make up stuff and have biases about companies that maybe never even used the company before. Or you can trust people that actually utilize the services and then formulate your own opinions from there. Don't let anybody ever dictate what you should or should not do, especially when it comes to peer pressure, because that's what you do when you're in third grade, not when you're in your 30s. So, with that being said, if you've never used PGX before, there is a code that I provide for anybody that sends 10 or more books to PGX. It's not on their website and it's not on their invoice. You have to write it in. So, this is exclusively for the We Love Comics viewers. If you send 10 or more books to PGX and you write in the code We Love Comics Free Press, they will press one of your books absolutely free. I would recommend picking one that you want pressed, otherwise, they'll randomly pick one. Also, if you want, thanks to my idea, and thanks to Daniel Patterson, the owner of PGX, for actually implementing this idea, again, not on the invoice and not on the website, but you can actually add the grader's notes onto the back of the slab, which I wish all companies would do, but I love the fact that they listened to my idea. So again, you'd have to write it into the invoice, but if you put We Love Comics grader's notes, it's $5 per slab. But instead of having to email them for graders notes, or having a company where sometimes they don't even post graders notes, you have it directly on the slab, which, especially if you're going to sell a book, makes it a lot easier for a buyer to know what is right or what is wrong with the book. So, with that being said, we have Hoppy A in there. Says, hi, good morning, Chris. Good morning to you. Hope you're well. Let's give a shout out to my Patreon members: Sith Lord, Michael, Kevin, Dan, Herbert, Annabelle, Jason, Kim, Bless, Joey, Ashton, Kendall Kid Comics on YouTube, at Scott WU077 on Instagram, Stephen L. Turk Author Facebook, and at Silver Age Surfer _comics also on Instagram. If you'd like to join my Patreon, it's patreon.com/We Love Comics. You'll get your name up on here and shout it out every single video. New thing that I do for my paid Patreon members is, when I do my auctions, you have a week in advance notice before anybody else even sees the sneak peek video that I do. So you have the advantage over anybody else, where, especially if you've bought from me before or are interested in my comics that I sell, you can actually send me an offer before anybody else can even see the books. And if I accept your offer, it takes it off the auction. So you don't have to worry about missing the auction, or being outbid on a comic you wanted, or getting into a bidding war and ending up spending more than you could have if you made an offer beforehand. So again, it's patreon.com/We Love Comics. The probably majority of the contributions go towards helping the stray animals that I take care of on a daily basis, including vet bills, foods, shelters, water, medicines, and all that other fun stuff. So your support is always appreciated. And if I get 20 or more members in any given month, there's giveaways. So you could pause that and you can see what that involves. Basically, for every $2 you contribute, you get one entry, because we do a raffle once we get to 20, and we'll see if we ever make it there. So we're about 5 away, and we'll see what happens. Let's put on the video camera. So we have the PGX box. I cut open the sides to make it a little quicker, so this way you don't have to wait as long. But I do not know the grades. But what I also do is, and you can see they always do well, really good protection. They add the bags separately. Those are the self-sealing bags. They put plenty of packing peanuts in there as well. And then they wrap them not only in the bubble wrap that you see, but they also wrap them in a blue cellophane that keeps everything tight. That's what she said. And it keeps it from moving around and shifting during shipment. Because, I've seen many people with a CGC, especially, where they open the box and one or two of the comics or more are cracked. And you then have to send them back in, which takes more months for you to get your comics. So you want to make sure any company that packages your comics wants to do it with some care. And I send 4 books in every month for going on about 8 years now, and there have only been 2 times where a case got cracked. And of course, they replaced it, no problem. So, for about 8 years, 4 books every month, and only 2 slabs had cracks. That's a pretty darn good ratio. So as you can see, like I said here, they put the blue cellophane, which I like that added protection. Again, it keeps them from shifting around. And also, every month I send in the 4 books, I always make a prediction of what I think the grades will end up being. Now, I always base it on pressings and dry cleanings and all that other fun stuff, because if you're not aware, PGX has in-house pressings and dry cleanings. You don't have to ship them anywhere else, which could, potentially increase the chances of losing them or damage in the mail, because if you're sending them to more than one place. They have the signature verification, again, in-house. So that's another bonus. So it's one-stop shopping. And they're the cheapest as far as the prices for the books to get graded. And their turnarounds tend to be a lot faster than other companies. So give them a try if you haven't. So we got Brian Norman also in the house. I'm not sure. I don't think they did the labels this time. So let me put this on so I can see from my end. There we go. Hopefully, yes, okay. Now, if you've been watching these videos, and by the numbers, many haven't, but that's okay. I take quality over quantity. This is a series I have highly recommended people getting, because I think it's just a matter of time in the MCU that they do an Avengers versus X-Men. Obviously, that you got plenty of time to buy this because they haven't even brought the X-Men into the MCU yet. So you're probably talking Phase 8 or Phase 9. But the good thing about that is you have plenty of time to buy these, and they'll still be relatively affordable. I mean, you're probably not going to get the price I got these for, but hey, you never know, so don't give up. There are plenty of variants, so look out for those, especially the 1 in 100 variants. Again, you can get those fairly cheap. But this is Avengers vs. X-Men. It was issues 0 through 12 is the complete series. Now, as you can see, each book that I bought has between 5 and 6 signatures on them. This is Avengers vs. X-Men number 11, so there's only one more that I'm waiting to get back graded. This one has 6 signatures, which of course, like I said, they will do the verification right there. So these are newer books. I bought these. It came out to $16.09 per book. I mean, just for the signatures alone, if these got 0.5s, I'd be doing well. But, kind of hard to sell a modern book at a 0.5, whether it's, signed or not. But these have all been high grade. I think the lowest one, I think maybe one of them was a 9.2, but the rest average between 9.4 and 9.8. And that's exactly what I say these books usually come out as after pressing and dry cleaning. So let's see if we can keep that trend going. All right, so 9.4 on this one. Now, there are no grader's notes, which means either I forgot to write it down or they did not do it. Now, considering they don't charge me for that, I will never blame them if they made the mistake, but I could have forgotten to write it down, so I'll never really know, but I don't care. But 9.4, it's, like I said, within the range of, like I say, they did verify all the signatures, so it is signed by Laura Martin, Jonathan Hickman, Oliver Copiel, Jimmy Cheung, Jason Aaron, and Matt Fraction. And of course, 9.4 with white pages, which is pretty much to be expected for this modern type of book. 9.4, I'll take it. I'm definitely not one of those people that's going to complain about that. Now, I see 2 of the 4 have grader's notes. So I guess they didn't forget. Maybe they just didn't need them. I don't know. All right, so let's get to the next one. Let's skip that one. I didn't see the grade, but I want to skip that one. Okay. Let's do this one. Book I've been recommending for a long time. This, of course, is Fantastic Four, annual number 2. This is the origin of Doctor Doom, which we know has technically been in a, ending credits scene. I haven't seen the Fantastic Four movie. If you have, tell me what you honestly thought of it in the comments section. But Doctor Doom he's going to be one of the main bad guys coming for a while. He's definitely not a one and done character. So if you cannot afford his first appearance, which is Fantastic Four issue number 5, this is a relatively inexpensive book that you can acquire. And I bought these a couple years ago preparing for what was coming. So I only paid $38.98 for this book. So again, it could be a zero point 0.5 and I'll do well. This is a low grade, but say it with me, ladies and gentlemen, low grade is better than no grade. I predicted this basically after pressing and dry cleaning to be normally I do a full grade, like a 3 to a 4 or something. This one I kind of thought it was more a little bit less than that. Predicted between a 2.0 and a 2.5. So I was pretty confident that it was going to be in the 2 range. Off-white pages. So let's see what we get. Oh, all right, so there we go. I'll take a 3.0. And that's what I love about their pressings and dry cleanings. Um, they do an amazing job with their pressings and dry cleanings. There's tape on cover, which obviously I knew, but that's not considered restoration or anything like that. This one does have grader's notes. You could see, like I said, if you add um, $5 per slab and use the code We Love Comics Grader's Notes and add that to the invoice, you can get the grader's notes placed on here. They did mention that it is Origin of Doctor Doom. What did I say page quality was? I said off-white. It's off-white to white, so I was fairly close. So they did a really good job with the pressing. And let's see what the graders notes say. Small dot of rust, multiple stress lines along the spine. That's to be expected in a lower grade book. Probably why somebody put tape on it at some point. Moderate cover and edge wear and stains. So there's not a major stain or anything right there. It's literally just encompasses that space right there, so it doesn't go past that. So, I mean, that is going to lower the grade, but you're not talking an entire book stain. I'm very happy with the 3.0, especially since, like I said, I spent a grand total of $38.98. Let's see. Brian says, referring to that Avengers series, I've been on eBay in the last few months since you've been talking about this series, and I'm probably going to buy the run. Always look for deals, but yeah, I always tell people let's put it this way, there are no guarantees for future movies until they happen. But you have to ask yourself, what is the likelihood of them doing, because they have to do big events for the Avengers movies. What are the odds and the chances of Marvel eventually doing an Avengers versus X-Men big series movie? I say it's more likely than not. I would say it's probably a good 85% to 90% chance that they'll do it. Because, they'll do in between the major movies, they'll do smaller movies, which means, they're going to have to build up the X-Men and then they'll have to build up some kind of tension between the X-Men and Avengers, which would lead up to a main Avengers movie, or maybe they consider it a main X-Men movie where they match and they go after each other. Um, you don't want to wait until they confirm that, because then you know what's going to happen to the prices the exact night that the notice gets out. So if you can find these and get deals, especially if you can get them cheap, it's worth taking the chance on, in my opinion, but you do what's best for you. Constipated Sin City here says, hey, Chris, how much did I miss so far? Um, I guess only one of the books. I don't know how long you've been here, but I showed 2 so far. But the best 2 are at the end. Another one that shows that deals always happen. And the funny part is, this is the most expensive version of this book that I've bought, which means most of the books I've gotten have been under the price that I got this for. So this, of course, is Fantastic Four, number 52, first appearance of the Black Panther. Now, since the last Black Panther was not monetarily successful with Disney, whether you liked it or not, or watched it or not, is up to you. I did not watch it, so just not my cup of tea with, what they were doing with that particular phase. But the good thing about that is it lowered the price of these books. Now, unlike stocks that can go to zero, these won't. So you're gonna see times where there's peaks and valleys. Once you see it getting to a certain point, it's usually not going to go much lower than that. Take advantage of the dips, because they are rebooting, even if it's considered a soft reboot, the MCU, and they are definitely having plans for Black Panther, which means desirability of this is going to go up in the future. So the idea is catch those sales and discounts before that happens, because they've already confirmed they are going to have future plans with Black Panther. Now, whether the new actor that they choose is, somebody that makes a movie successful remains to be seen. But again, this is a key issue. It's a key Silver Age book. So why not get it on sale? I've seen people, especially during Rovid, where prices were getting sky high. How many people were complaining, oh, the price is so high, it's now ruining the comic book community and availability of getting books. But those very same people don't seem to like the fact that the prices go down and they become affordable again. Some people are just going to be angry and bitter no matter what happens in life. Better them than me. But I predicted this one again. It's a low grade book, but I only paid $209.19 for this book. And like I said, that's the most I believe I've ever spent on a Fantastic Four 52. I've gotten some incredible finds with this book. One of them, I think I paid like $74 altogether. And remember, the 204.19 includes shipping and handling and taxes. So I predicted this book, after pressing and dry cleaning, would be between a 2.5 and a 3.5, creamed off-white pages. Let's see what we got. And I was definitely off on this one. All right, that's fine. I have no problem with that. This was actually the seller that, remember, about a month ago, where I got Fantastic Four number 48, and it was totally trimmed, and they didn't mention it. I mean, it was ridiculously trimmed because the inside pages were trimmed even worse than the edges. So that's who I bought this from. So it's not surprising, but hey, at least it's not trimmed and at least it's not restored. But I would never buy from that person again. But even still, for the price that I paid, and that's why it pays to look for discounts, because these things can happen where you think you're getting a certain grade and it doesn't happen. So I got a bump up a little bit from the other book and a little bit of a downgrade, but still, a 1.8 at $204, I'll take it. And also the fact, like I said, they have future plans for the Fantastic Four, obviously, but with Black Panther. So it's going to increase demand. It's going to increase the value over time. So this one, I mean, I could technically sell it now and still make a little bit of profit. Or this is one that I can hold for a little bit because the grade was lower than what I was hoping for. And you'll get more money later on. So, not everyone is a home run. Sometimes you got to take the hit by pitch. So again, for $204.19, I'll take a 1.8. This one again has greatest notes. Now, this I did know it had the rust and everything that bleeds all the way through. So I didn't know how much that would affect the grade. Same thing, there's staining, but there's a lot, as you can see. So I guess it shows I still have room to grow when it comes to grading. But I mean, it wasn't like I said a 5.0 and it came back a 0.5. So sometimes you're off a little bit. So it says rust and oxidation, which I just showed, extensive water damage. I guess it went all the way through and they couldn't do much about it with the pressings because they do dry pressings. So I was hoping that would get hopefully some of that alleviated, but obviously it didn't. And that's okay. You can't really fix everything. Multiple stress lines along the spine, 3-inch and 2-inch spine splits, cover edge, and spine wear. So the back looks pretty decent, but as you could see, yeah, the stain bled all the way through. But again, for the price I paid, for 1.8, I'll take it. This book that's coming up, the deal I got on this, I could not believe. It does not matter to me if this comes back a 0.5. Now, unfortunately, this book, even though it's a low grade, does not have grader's notes on it for some reason. And it's going to be a lower grade, but we got X-Men number 4. Now, I had two of these books, and I sold them a couple of years ago, and I didn't realize at the time that I like to get multiple copies, and I tell people, I always encourage people, if you can, to get multiple copies, because if you have to trade or sell them, you can still have one. And I ended up selling both, and I thought maybe at the time I had 3, but I didn't have any more. And even to this day, this book is still pretty valuable, even in low grade. Now, I know this one isn't in the greatest of conditions, as you can see, but it's still a key book. And to me, that's why I use the phrase low grade is better than no grade. Because if you can especially find deals, and I got a major deal on this for this grade, because look up even a 0.5, you're talking hundreds of dollars for this book. Because it is, of course, the first appearance of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, the first appearance of the Scarlet Witch, which they are going to continue her. Whether they use the original actress or not remains to be seen. I'm sure they will. But also the first appearance of Quicksilver. So this is, you know, Also, X-Men 4, so pretty early Magneto and X-Men characters. I got this for a grand total of $111.83. You could not even get a zero point 0.5 for double that. So this, regardless of what the graders, well, it doesn't say graders, but regardless of what the grade is, I am going to be very happy with this book. Constipated in Sin City says, Chris, did you watch the Yankees Blue Jays game? Unfortunately, um, the Yankees with their defense, we're definitely not a World Series contender, especially with Chaz. I forget his name at second base. He sometimes falls asleep on plays and doesn't hustle, and he's too much of a showboat, and that cost a couple of times. Not the game, but obviously runs that could have changed the game either way. So, can't win them all. I've been a Yankee fan since 1977. I used to go back in the 80s when they were in last place. So I'm a diehard Yankee fan. But yeah, their defense was just not good enough, and their bullpen ended up not being as good as they should have been, considering after the trade deadline. But, it is what it is. All right, so let's reveal this last grade. And always, if you want to thumb it up or thumb it down, hit subscribe or unsubscribe. I'll leave that up to you. I said a 1.0 to a 1.8 with off-white pages. Survey says, there we go, 1.8. I am absolutely happy with that. So the higher end of what I predicted, I have no problem with that at all. So of all of the books that I got, this one, oh, and this is something I did not know, and the seller did not tell me. Page two, well, it's not incomplete, but page two, partially torn out affects the story. So it's, at least it's not missing a complete page. So that's on me for missing that, but also the seller never mentioned that. But again, for $111, you can't even get a zero point 0.5 restored of this book for that price. So low grade is better than no grade. I know it doesn't look exactly beautiful, but you know what? There is no wrong way to collect. It doesn't matter if everybody watching says, "Oh, I'd never buy that book." Well, the good thing I view that from, because I take positive things out of what most would say would be negative, is that if everybody says, watching this video says, "Oh, I'd never buy that book," that's the reason why I got it for the price I got it for. Because I don't have to worry about being outbid by everybody that wanted it. So I'm actually glad to be acquiring books like you see here, for example, a point 0.5 grade, but Superman number 14. And believe it or not, $743.65 is actually about half of what this book is worth. I'll be more than happy to add these books to my collection because now, once again, I have the first appearance of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, first appearance of Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. Of the two, obviously Scarlet Witch is going to be the one that's going to be used more frequently in the MCU. But I'm happy. And what did I say page was? I said off-white. It's creamed off-white. So, again, for $111, I cannot complain. So, X-Men number 4, 1.8. Fantastic Four number 52, also a 1.8. Fantastic Four Annual number 2, 3.0, zero point 0.5 higher than what I predicted. And this was in the range of what I said between a 9.4 and a 9.8. 9.4 Avengers vs. X-Men number 1 with 6 signatures. So, that is my story, and I'm sticking to it. I got a bunch more books that are coming. I've been on a streak with getting some amazing deals. I worked out some deals, and I got some in auctions, and they're all in the process of being mailed to me. Some may come. One may come tomorrow. Um, Obviously, you never know with the postal service, but the rest will be coming sometime middle of next week. So I got some videos looking to come your way. So if you're interested in that, stick around. So that is it. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section. You can critique the AI art if you want to, good, bad, or indifferent. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, it is not you, it is not I, it is We Love Comics. Constipated Sin City says, Chris, what was your first comic book you ever got? The first book I ever got was technically not a real, was not like a regular comic book. My mother got me when I was about 5 years old the Amazing Spider-Man album that I believe came with a mini comic book, but it was a record it was, they called him Draco, but it was a narration of a comic of the lizard, and they called him Draco. So if anybody remembers that one, it was around between 74 and 76. I believe it did come with a mini comic, but I'm not sure. But it was a full size record. It was either full size or a 45. I don't remember. It's this was a couple of hours ago. But that was my first foray into comic books. But the first comic book I ever bought on my own was I bought it at 7-Eleven. There were a couple of different books I bought, but I remember the first one that caught my eye was a DC book, and it was Cosmic Boy #2. And I think that was between 86 and 87, somewhere in that area. So if somebody wants to look up Cosmic Boy #2, and I think I also got the first new Suicide Squad, or the first Amanda Waller, that day as well. I don't remember, but I remember picking those up at 7-Eleven. I still have both books. Where? I have no idea. And then what got me into collecting comics regularly, where from that point on I was hooked on comics instead of hooked on phonics, was back in the late 80s. They had that Death of Robin series, and the final issue is coming. The issue before that, people had to vote on whether Robin lived or died. I think it's Batman 427 or 428. But I remember going to the comic book store to pick up the one where Robin dies, and I just missed it by about a week because the next issue, the issue 4 of the series, came out. So the Death of Robin at that time, it was like $50, which when you're a teenager and you don't have a job, you don't have money to buy that. But I did buy Batman 428, which I believe is the fourth in the series with the Joker cover. And I was collecting comics ever since then until the crash of the 90s. And then I didn't touch another book until 2016. So hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, Constipated Sin City says Draco the Lizard LP. I had that album. Yeah. So that was my first introduction into comic books. Again, I don't remember if it came with a mini comic book or not, but I could still hear the narrator's voice, especially when he goes, Draco. So if you remember or had that album, put it in the comments section. So that's it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have fun collecting no matter what you do. Don't forget to try PGX and use the code We Love Comics. Free press if you send 10 or more books the first time. And you have to write that on the invoice because it's not on the invoice and it's not on their website. This is exclusively for the We Love Comics family, whether you're subscribed or not. So I'll see you next video. Have a great day, and don't forget to have your trolls spayed or neutered. And our surprise subscriber shoutouts: Constipated in Sin City, Darren Morin, and let's see if there's anybody else. Luke says you picked up that Star Wars #8 for a very good price the other day. Watched the video early. Oh, yes, the Secret Wars. Yeah, that's a video I did yesterday. So if you guys haven't seen it, let me know. Go watch it because yeah, I got a deal more than 70% off of its market value, and that's not even considering the fact that Secret Wars is coming out in the MCU, and rumors are the black suit is going to be happening with the modern Spider-Man. Whether it happens or not remains to be seen. So, Luke, you're part of the surprise subscriber shout out, Brian Norman, and last but not least, Hoppy. So, if you're all happy about that, you can leave a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And I'll see you next video. Thanks for watching, everybody. Much love to you all.